Hi everyone, and welcome to another episode of Enlightened Entrepreneur. Today I'm very, very excited to be bringing to you an expert that I came across recently and was sharing something that I thought would be valuable to our community. And of course, that is you today. And it is in line with our topic of discussion, which is your finances as a business owner. And the gentleman I'm talking with today is Donovan Ryckis, and he's a financial advisor, OPFC principal. In fact, Donovan has done so much over the last 6 years that he came into the industry that he's providing his services to a lot of people. So I thought it would be good to have somebody who is in the industry to comment on a very few frequently asked questions that a lot of people ask when it comes to your finances as a business owner. So we have entitled today's interview 7 financial services questions every business owner needs to know the answers to. So welcome to the show, Donovan.
Thank you. Glad to be here.
Excellent. Now, to get us started, Donovan, our audience would love to get to know you, to understand where you are coming from and some of the things that you've done within the financial services. Could you just let us into that for a moment?
Sure. We got to speak a little bit before the call. I've been in financial services for a little over 6 years now. I got to start shortly after, 2008. So I got to see how that really affected the average American. Because when I started in the industry, I actually started first with insurance, and I was working with seniors. So in this country, we go on Medicare at 65. So I was dealing with people who had just retired, but also just lost 40% of their retirement accounts. And they were devastated trying to figure out how to make it work, but they were also terrified to kind of go forward. And it really kind of sparked a passion in me to learn more, do all I can, and just kind of help everybody out to the best of my ability. Because I could tell very quickly that a lot of people weren't as informed as they should be. And I felt that could be my place.
Incredible. And in this industry, that you know is a vast industry, what aspect of the industry do you specialize in?
So that's evolved over the years, and I think that's really how it needs to be, because financial services as an industry is very interesting because it could really be anything. It is such a vast industry, not only in what type of products you're maybe working with financially, but the type of client, how you would go find them, how are you going to meet with them in person, online. It's so different. So I started in insurance, and then I very quickly started to bring it over more towards the financial side. Right now, my primary focus is really executives, entrepreneurs, and business owners, making sure they choose the right structure for their retirement, so we can lower their taxes as much as possible, obviously, and also just kind of doing some creative planning and bringing in my team members, my attorneys, my CPAs, my actuaries, so we can all kind of come together and make a best case scenario plan for that client.
Beautiful. One thing I like about you is your versatility, the thing that you've done for a long time. Now, some of our business owners in our audience are really getting started, and
Okay.
some of them still are paying off the student loan they got, and they are looking to then invest into 401k or making their contribution and all that sort of things. So I'd like to take you back to what would be the smarter way for any business owner who is getting started to pay off those student loan or all those outstanding things that could hold them back from going forward.
Well, I wouldn't necessarily suggest paying off all the student loans as quickly as possible. And the reason is those typically have pretty favorable interest rates.
Right.
So if you have a college loan that's at 4%, but we can average you 7 or 8%, assuming you have some reasonable protection of principal in that other account, that's a nice point spread. So a lot of times people are kind of in a rush They feel like it's a monkey on their back. They don't want to worry about having, any kind of outstanding debt. But really look at the interest rates. Sometimes there's no reason to do it. I mean, a lot of entrepreneurs now are saying now is not the time to save, now is the time to spend. Guys like Mark Cuban, because debt is so cheap. There's actually, for the executives, some of the executives that I work with, they actually do something called premium financing.
Right.
They actually get a loan to essentially form themselves a pension. And then that pension pays off the loan within 10 years. So it's not always the best case scenario to pay off all the debt just because you have it. Be mindful of the numbers and do your homework.
Right, incredible. Just expanding on that, what criteria would you use in figuring out whether it is good to pay it off or not to pay it off?
Oh, that is a complicated question. I'd say if your interest rate's around 4 or 5, you're probably going to want to investigate holding on to, not holding on to. I mean, obviously you're going to be paying it, but maybe not speeding up your payoff of that debt. If you have some money that you can also put away in addition to that, maybe just make your minimum or your regular payments on that student debt if it's at a 4 or 5% interest rate, and use the rest of that money to maybe start a private pension for yourself. One that I work with a lot is Index Universal Life. It's basically an after-tax pension when established correctly. So I'd say if you're within 4 to 5, do your homework. But of course, that always changes depending on how much your payments are and how much extra you actually have the capability to put away in addition to that.
Incredible. Really appreciate such insight you're sharing with us here. Just to continue with the train of thought, the business owner has taken that into account. How much then do they need to set aside or to start to contribute toward their retirement, if they are going to be succeeding before they actually move on with their business?
You're talking about before they move on, before they start their business, or?
Well, either really. Let's talk about when they are in the business, because many of our audience are already in business.
Okay. Obviously that kind of stuff too changes business to business. For example, my business, I have very little capital expenditure. I don't have really anything I need to spend money on. I mean, I work half out of my home office, half out of an office I share with an attorney. Just when he sends me clients, I'll go work out of his office.
Right.
So for me, I have very little needs to carry a kind of cash or emergency fund for my business. But some people will have greater requirements on that. But overall, I mean, a good kind of figure to be putting away toward your retirement is somewhere in the neighborhood of 10 to 15%.
Incredible.
That's typically within the range. And, if you're a little bit older, if you're in your mid 40s, early 50s, you want to be up on the higher end of that for sure.
Incredible. Awesome. Now let's just talk about your business for a moment before we go into to the specific strategies. When you were starting 6 years ago, did you meet any roadblocks? And if you did, how did you overcome them?
Oh yeah. Every day was a roadblock. You kidding me? Yes, there are always tons of roadblocks, tons of days you kind of quit in your head when you're starting a new business. Where to even begin? I guess the biggest thing for me, like I said, because the industry is so vast, it was very different than what I had done before, which was opening a Gold's Gym.
Right.
Okay, so that was a very defined business. I knew what I was doing every day. I'm going to go in the gym. I'm going to sell memberships, personal training, and tanning, and that's my role day in, day out. It really can't evolve from there. So I think the first roadblock for me was starting in the industry. I started with insurance, and I was making good money. I was helping people out. I was giving them better priced products and something they needed. So I felt good about what I was doing, but I was very bored. there wasn't much to it. Obviously, it's very simple. I saw they had bigger problems and bigger concerns that I felt that I could address better than the people they were working with. And I was already there, and they already trusted me and knew me. So throughout my career in financial services, I'd say maybe not a roadblock, but something that probably has almost stalled me out or had me changing directions a lot. It's just that I've continued to progress and kind of up the clients I'm working with and up the type of business and financial product I'm dealing with and complexity and size. Now that sounds like a good thing, but just like any other business, it'd be like starting in one business and kind of marketing for different groups. So I started working with seniors going on Medicare, and then I started working with younger families and executives and then business owners and even group financial products and group health insurance now. So how you talk to those people, how you find them is completely different.
Right.
So that's probably kind of one of the stumbling blocks, the roadblocks or the stumbling blocks I've had in growing my business is that I've almost altered my business model every time I've progressed and kind of learned more personally.
That's right.
So it's good and it's bad. It's a good thing, but it slows you down and you kind of feel like, hey, if I would have just stuck where I was, I'd have a really huge business in doing health insurance. I would have just hated it. I would have been very bored day in and day out.
Yes.
Does that answer make sense? I'm in kind of a different industry probably than most of your listeners.
It's absolutely fine. It serves well, to the audience to figure out, what is happening in other industry and how other people are doing that. As you were talking, I was writing notes, which I'm hoping, and I'm assuming all our audience are doing exactly the same thing, because some of the things you're sharing there, really, when they're applied, they make such a huge difference. I want to take you back in those early days you were starting, how did you get your first client?
Definitely a cold call.
Right.
Back then, so like 6.5 years ago, cold calls all day. Right. So I would sit in the office all day, Tuesday and Thursday, from 8 to 8, and I would literally stay on the phone to my ear. I would dial for 50 minutes. I wouldn't hang up the phone the entire 50 minutes, and I would just dial, hang up. And for 10 minutes, I would go walk around and kind of regain my sanity.
Right.
And with that schedule, I was able to do that for 12 hours, 2 days a week. And those 2 days would allow me to book up the rest of my week with appointments. So that's really probably the only way I got business for about 2 years.
Wow.
It's just cold calling, making hundreds of calls a day, following up with people. But I've done everything from cold calls to knocking on people's doors to buying internet leads, to networking, to throwing seminars, to using direct mail, to getting client referrals. And now ultimately what I'm doing is getting professional referrals through CPAs, attorneys. So that's kind of the progression. But I definitely started doing what people would hate to do, the worst of the worst, right? Right. Cold calling, knocking on doors. That's where it started.
Right. Well, I love about what you just shared there is your determination to do whatever it takes to get that business off the ground. I find many business owners today, they are very selective on what activities they need to do. Right. So by hearing you mentioning that you did what it took to get that business off and start getting that client in, and of course, the referral system kicked in at the end, but just going at it, do what could work, and still maintaining your peace like you did, is the result. Has resulted in you still being in business 6 years later. Let's talk about the role of mentors in your early years of running a business. How important were they to you?
I wish I could say they were, but I don't have any, and I want one.
Right.
But the way I've operated my business was very different, because when I started, like I said, with the insurance products, I was dealing with an office that pretty much only worked with very simple insurance products.
Right.
So I couldn't find a mentor there, because what I did was ended up outgrowing them and leaving them within a year. and going to a company that could offer my clients more.
Right.
And I've done that 3 times now, and then just this year, finally, I've taken my practice, which was already independent, but I went ahead and opened up my own registered investment advisory.
Incredible.
So yeah, I think mentors are extremely important. I just went to a company conference, and I have a couple people I'm going to follow up with that were kind of standouts at the conference, because the people were coming from all over the country.
Right.
And I am definitely willing to pay somebody to have, like a weekly Skype call for, mentorship, just to kind of talk about my business, because I know they've been there, and it will just accelerate my learning curve. But up until this time, I've not found one. I'm looking for one. I know it's important. I think it will definitely speed up anybody's results for sure.
Incredible. Now that, to me as a business owner, it tells me how determined you are in making things happen. I've had mentors right from, when we got started way back in 2008. I know they've helped me. Looking back, I don't think I would have been able to achieve what I achieved without them. But for you to do what you're doing without any mentors at all, certainly speaks a great deal of maybe self-determination, or maybe working harder. What would you say to somebody who hasn't had a mentor but really wants to get things going like yourself? What are they to focus on?
Well, I'm going to get off this call feeling really good about myself, so thank you for everything you're saying so far. Anybody that wants to get it done, anybody can do it.
Right.
It's never the smartest person getting it done. It's usually the person that's working the hardest. If you want to do it, just do it. Sometimes it's not glamorous. Like I said, knocking on doors, doing phone calls. I didn't like prospecting that way for clients. I wasn't getting my ideal clients cold calling. You don't really get the executive or the business owner doing cold calls to sell health insurance. So I kind of did that, and I've done a lot of things that I didn't, a lot of methods that I don't love using. And, it slowly transitioned, gotten better and better. Now I'm kind of reaching the pinnacle of that, which is really just sitting back and working with my professionals, and us, referring business back and forth, and being able to kind of use each other to not only up our recommendations by using, all of us professionally, but also being able to share clients. So anybody can do it. Put in the time.
Absolutely. One of the things I've learned, even from just doing these interviews with some of the most, accomplished entrepreneurs is, if you can think it and you can see it through till the end, you certainly can achieve it, because what made you conceive that idea is also responsible for the drive to take you through. So, just follow your gut, and go out there and make things happen. Someone once said to me, there's only so much failing you can do before you figure things out. And, anyone listening to this, you're an intelligent person. You'll be able to figure things out, in no time than you anticipate, and you will certainly make it work. Now, let's switch gear for a moment. Knowing what you know now, Donovan, in terms of running a financial services provision, what would you do different if we were to start all over again?
I don't know if I would, or if I could do anything different, because everything I did, even though, like I said, they weren't always the most enjoyable, right, I couldn't have necessarily jumped to where I am now. That wouldn't have worked. I've taken my my lumps along the way, my learning lessons, and I put in the work I didn't want to, but I don't think I could, in my industry, get to where I am now without doing all those. So I don't really think there's much I could have changed. Like I would say, well, I wish I would have, went straight to financial products, but I would have missed out all the lessons on learning how hard prospecting is, which is what I do with insurance. I learned the hardest way there is, how hard it is to get clients. A lot of people in my industry try and come in very, very educated, but they have zero business sense, 0 sense on how to market. They don't want to work that hard. They would never get on the phone and do cold calls. They sure wouldn't knock on anybody's door. And, and that's kind of a sense of entitlement that perhaps comes if you're trying to get to the end. I worked my way up there. There was no elevator to the top.
Right. I love
so
that.
they're all learning lessons. There's not really much I could change. Yes, of course, anybody could wish that it happened a little quicker, but overall, I'm pretty satisfied.
Awesome. Still on that thought, Donovan, what would you do more of? Because there are other things that you can do less of, knowing what you know now, and there are other things that you would do more of. In other words, where you saw so much of result or return on your investment, what will be those maybe 2 or 3 things in your memory?
I think it's for me, it's one thing, which is just prospecting, more clients. Okay, always more clients. A lot of the times people focus first on making their product or service perfect.
Right.
But the most important thing is having the clients for it. And if you have the clients for it, you'll be able to work through your process quicker, perfect your product quicker, get feedback. So for me, I definitely spend a lot of time learning, changing my marketing methods, all that kind of stuff. If I would have just stuck to my guns on whatever prospecting method, add more clients to my book of business, I think that would have been perhaps the trigger to maybe make this whole thing happen a little bit quicker. So I think it's always just clients. Just go get more clients. That's your only job.
Absolutely.
If you're running a gym, your job is not really running the gym. It's to get more clients every day, to sell additional services. And yeah, in the meantime, your staff's job is to maintain the facility and take care of all the services. But as an entrepreneur or an owner, your sole job every day is to grow the business. So for me, prospecting, just more clients every time.
Yeah, keep going out there and talking to many people, and do whatever is necessary to get people to see your services. Get those eyeballs onto the products that you are putting out there. I like that, Donovan. Let's just switch gears for a moment onto some of the key questions that are asked when it comes to financial services. One of the questions which I hear a lot is about indexed universal life. What is it?
Indexed universal life is probably one of the most understood products.
Right.
There's a lot of information out there that is like 30 years old that people are still repeating.
Right.
And there's no financial product out there, whether we're talking about, like the 401k was created 30 years ago. So there's no financial product that has been the same for 30 years. But indexed universal life is essentially a cash value life insurance policy. Now it can do 2 things. It can be just a traditional whole life insurance policy where it's really only going to offer you a death benefit. It'll be pretty expensive at that.
Right.
Or you can establish it as a pension where it can add all the same features you would receive from a pension, except in an after-tax format. So right. in that scenario, you're really only using the indexed universal life for its tax status. You're minimizing your death benefit to the IRS minimums or to the tax minimums, and then you're maximizing the extra cash you're putting into the policy. That extra cash grows with an index. Usually we use the S&P 500, and it adds protection of principal, death benefits. It gives you all the same tax benefits of a Roth without any of the restrictions. Basically, it's an after-tax pension when set up correctly, is all it is. Typical pension would be tax deferred, meaning you're still going to be paying your taxes when you retire. An IUL would be a after-tax pension, meaning you're paying your taxes this year. You're not going to get that break, but it's going to grow when you retire. It's tax-free.
Incredible. I love the way you explained how it works, that it is going to grow after you retire. Still on this subject, is there anything that you feel, our audience needs to understand, which I haven't asked you about?
I think all people need to look at reestablishing a pension for themselves, and I think this is a great way to do it. We still work with traditional defined benefit or pension plans, but I really like going after tax using Roth-like benefits. The way I look at it, say I work for another 20 years.
Right.
If I'm putting money away tax deferred, which means I'm not paying taxes this year, I'm postponing them until I retire, and then I got to pay. Essentially what I'm doing is I'm putting myself in a 20-year partnership with the government.
Right.
Because they're going to tax me when I retire at the tax rate at that point in time, not today's. And I don't know if I've ever really met anybody that believes taxes are going to go down, especially with the growing amount of retirees and seniors, and of course debt and just everything going on in the world. I don't think anybody thinks taxes are going to go down.
No, not really.
So, anytime somebody chooses to defer all of their income, meaning all in a 401k or all in an IRA, they're basically, that's a very long bet they're making with the government that taxes will either be the same or less. And if you're looking at 15, 20 years down the road, I think that's highly unlikely. In any case, if we know what taxes are now, we definitely, I think most of us could say, is not going to go down. So worst case scenario, we pay our taxes now, but it's something we never have to worry about in the future. So I'd say that is probably the biggest thing is start switching your accounts to tax-free. In the U.S., the top tax rate right now is just 39.6, but if you're retired, you can actually have 85% of your Social Security benefit taxed if you're in those higher income brackets. So definitely investigate your tax status. It's our number one expense. That's usually more important when I'm putting together a plan for somebody than, a percentage or two on growth is formulating a tax plan. Okay, because that's where all our expenses are. The wealthy, the business owners usually start to understand this very quickly because they're paying their own taxes.
Yeah.
Super, super important. Be mindful of taxes.
Incredible. Awesome. You are sharing some really technical things here that I'm sure our audience, are taking notice of that. How can they get in touch with you should they want further education on that and maybe want to work with you? Do you have a website, Donovan, that they can visit?
Sure. Two ways, I'd say. If you want to have a conversation with me, probably one of the easiest ways would be LinkedIn.
Right.
I'm on that pretty much all day throughout the day, connecting with people and shooting messages back and forth. And you can find me at linkedin.com /in, and it is Donovan Ryckis. That's DONOVANRYCKIS. I'm probably one of the very few Donovans on there if you look it up. It's not usually a whole lot.
Awesome. And your website?
My website is jdonovan.financial.
Incredible.
www.jdonovan.financial.
Incredible. Now, as we come to the end of our time here together, do you have any final thoughts, for business owners who are looking to improve their finances?
To improve their finances, definitely. I think everybody could stand to put away some more. There's always things for us to buy, whether in or out of our business. We're trying to improve, we're trying to grow. But like I said, starting in the industry after 2008, I still have the crash very much in the front of my mind every time I put together a plan for somebody. And I think in certain industries, for example, mine, and also speaking with real estate agents, we're almost kind of over-invested in the market because my business has a direct correlation with the economy anyway, as a financial advisor. Right. I mean, if the market crashes or stocks go down, that directly affects my income as a job more so than other people. Same thing with real estate agents or certain other businesses. So you always want to make sure you have that safety in an account, which is why I love the pensions or the index universal life, because they have protection of principal. So every year when you're credited your gains, you're locked in at that amount. That's your safe money. until the next year. You get your credits or not, but you don't ever lose money to stock market losses, which is crucial, especially for business owners, anybody that has a strong correlation with the market. So save more, protect more, and be mindful of your taxes.
Incredible. Yeah, I'm tempted to ask one more question here about the mindset. What sort of mindset should business owner have when it comes to their, financial management, so to speak? And with that, we'll conclude our time here together.
I think it's always a balance. I know for running a business, one of the first things I always think is, any money going out, I make sure it's going to have a direct effect bringing money back in. So if it's not, I'd rather keep it in the account and save it for a rainy day or save for something else that will grow. Sometimes it turns into kind of our baby or our child, and we want to give our business all the best things and spend money. And, nowadays between ways you can market online and off and all kinds of stuff, I know I probably have 8 or 10 services that are getting deducted directly out of my credit card. And I look at them like, this is a lot. This is, a lot of money just going out automatically that I think I need. So I'm always kind of looking at that. So for the business owner, be mindful of the dollars going out and try and protect some of that and put it away for you.
Absolutely. Well, Donovan, thank you so much for a great interview. And I'm sure all the business owners in our audience learned a great deal from these questions regarding financial services that you've shared with us. And once again, if you're listening and you really want to connect with Donovan, go to his site. Can you spell that site again, please, Donovan?
Sure. J Donovan, which is DONOVAN .financial. jdonovan.financial.
Incredible. And there you will have a great deal of knowledge and you'll get some tips on how you can move your business or even your personal life forward. And as always, I expect you to implement what you're learning, because really and truly speaking, just listening to these audios is not going to transform your life until you implement what you're learning. And I really liked what Donovan mentioned earlier on. In a few minutes when we were talking about index universal life, because it is a way forward for those who are going to be smart with what they're doing. So implement that, get in touch. Should you forget any of those information, send us an email at support@worldoutsourcingsolutions.com, and we'll put you in touch with Donovan or any of our experts that we have interviewed on this subject as of today. With that said, have a great day, everyone, and I certainly will speak with you very, very shortly. Thanks, Donovan.
Thank you.
Awesome. Bye for now.